Well, good morning and welcome to Things to Think About on a Thursday. This week, Boris Johnson finally announced some wider relaxations to a number of the restrictions we've been living with. You can now mix with more people, live in slightly bigger bubbles, get a haircut, and also marriages can now take place, which has brought great rejoicing to the Robinson household. It feels like the dot of light at the end of the tunnel has suddenly got a bit bigger. But as we begin to emerge slowly from lockdown, I'm sure we'll all spend some time reflecting on the last few weeks. Can you imagine the conversations we'll all have in years to come that will begin? Do you remember what we were doing when we were in lockdown? As we look back, we may have a number of questions. We may wonder what God's plan has been in all of this, how God has been working through it, and also what lessons we were supposed to learn. Sometimes as we face difficult times, we have to be honest and say that trusting God isn't always easy. Part of the reason for that, as we thought about on Sunday, is that we have such a limited letterbox view of God's plans and purposes. Whenever we look up into the night sky, it reminds us that we are such small creatures in a vast universe, and that the creator of it doesn't share every aspect of his plans with us, which is a good thing because our brains simply couldn't cope with it if he did. However, through the Bible, we are given a great view and understanding of God's character. And as we live our lives with all their ups and downs, that is what God calls us to put our trust in, both as we look back over our past, but also as we look forward into our future. That trust is right at the heart of Psalm 25, which begins with a wonderful expression of David's trust in God. He starts off by writing these words: O Lord, I give my life to you. I trust in you, my God. No one who trusts in you will ever be disgraced. And then throughout the psalm, David is remembering and relying on two key things. Firstly, God's faithful character, and secondly, the loving ways in which God always works. Let me read to you what he writes in verses 6 to 10. Remember, O Lord, your compassion and unfailing love, which you have shown from long ages past. Do not remember the rebellious sins of my youth. Remember me in the light of your unfailing love, for you are merciful, O God. The Lord is good and does what is right. He shows the proper path to those who go astray. He leads the humble in doing right, teaching them his way. The Lord leads with unfailing love and faithfulness all who keep his covenant and obey his demands. I think those words speak so helpfully into our current situation and perhaps into some of the emotions we may be experiencing at present. They remind us of God's character, that he is an amazing God of compassion and kindness. But they also show that God always leads through life with unfailing love and faithfulness, that he is a God who cares for us continually, and that every path that he maps out for us and calls us to follow is a path of grace that he has created for our good and for our growth. Now and again in life we're given glimpses of that grace. There are times when it is as though the book of God's plans and purposes for our individual lives is opened up for us momentarily, so that we can look into it and trace the loving ways that God has intervened. The times when God has stepped in to save us from ourselves. The times he's used situations that seem strange and hard at the time to shape us lovingly and steer us away from damaging steps into temptation. The way he's used paths that seem difficult to walk on to get us to a place of spiritual safety, and work through disappointments to bring better solutions. Which all means that as we look back over the last 13 weeks, we can be confident that God has been working faithfully for us, working for our good, working for our protection, and working to make us more like Jesus. And that in time, we may be given some glimpse into the grace-filled ways he's been at work. So as you look back over lockdown, can I encourage you to thank God for his faithfulness through it, to pray that he will give you glimpses into the grace that he's shown you through that time, to renew your trust in God's character and gracious work, and to make these great verses from Psalm 25 a song of trust that you sing in the days ahead. And can I just mention a song just to reflect on and to listen to? What a Faithful God Have I. The link to it is in this email. I hope you have a good day and a great rest of the week.